Welcome to Football with Cheese. So in this video, I'm going to do an NFL draft prospect breakdown of quarterback Ty Simpson. This breakdown took more research than anyone I've ever done because I had to go back to earlier in the season when he was playing well. I can't just look at the bad games because that's where most of my notes were. It was a lot of bad, against Georgia and Indiana. So I had to go back and see the good as well. So it took a lot of time. I know I promised this video probably 2 weeks ago, but here it is. But first, before we get into it, make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You never miss one of my videos. I cover all 32 teams on this channel. And big emphasis on the NFL draft. It's less than 2 weeks away. I'm going to do 2 or 3 videos a day leading up to the draft. Okay, so before we talk about Ty Simpson, I just want to go over what I look for in a quarterback, because it's the hardest position in all of sports to evaluate. There are 3 things they have to have for me to draft them in the first round. They have to be a leader, first of all. You can't have Cam Newton in the Super Bowl, sees a fumble, blows a hissy fit, doesn't try to recover it. I want someone more like Peyton Manning, who will handle himself whether the situation's really good or really bad, everything in between, who'll answer the tough questions. I want a leader like Peyton Manning. Another thing I look for is, do they have good ball placement? You don't have to have insane Aaron Rodgers accuracy, 40 yards down the field, puts it right on the receiver's hands. But you have to give your receivers and tight ends a chance to catch the ball on just about every throw. And do they handle pressure well? Do they not panic when under pressure? Can they make tough throws when a guy's running at them? Or do they throw the ball away and not take sacks? So I want a good leader, I want him to have good ball placement, and I want him to be able to handle pressure well. Because if you do not have all 3 of those going in the NFL, I'm not taking you in the first round. Rarely does a quarterback not have those traits in college. And then just in the NFL, all of a sudden you have them. So those are 3 things I look for, and Fernando Mendoza has all 3. So that is why I'm very high on Mendoza. I will link my breakdown of him at the end, so make sure you do check that out. All right, so let's talk Ty Simpson. What are his strengths? He has good mechanics and footwork for the most part, especially when he has a clean pocket. He's a football coach's son. It's pretty obvious this guy loves football, and he's been around football his entire life. He ran, for the most part, a pro-style offense at Alabama. A lot of 3 wide receiver sets, dagger concepts, dig routes. He attacked the middle of the field, which a lot of college quarterbacks don't. So learning a pro offense should not be an issue for him. I like that he went through his progressions, sometimes 3 or 4. Most college quarterbacks, including Fernando Mendoza, went through 1 or 2 and then would check it down. But Ty Simpson would go through 3 or 4 on a lot of plays, and you have to do that in the NFL. Basically, he just knows how to run a pro offense. So that will not be an issue for whatever team drafts him. His arm is good enough. It's not a cannon or anything, not a Josh Allen type arm, but it's good enough. He should be able to make majority of the throws. He throws a pretty ball, puts a lot of touch on it, and he is a team captain. He has high character and intangibles. I talked about those 3 things. He definitely has number 1, and it's very important for me at least that he is already a team captain and a leader, because your quarterback really is the face of your team. Okay, so there are some negatives for sure, especially quarterback position. Very rarely is a quarterback just ready to play in the NFL. The only 2 I can probably think of were Joe Burrow and Andrew Luck that I thought definitely should start right away. But I point out some things media might not. They protect these prospects, especially quarterbacks. He is not very experienced. Only 1 year as a starter. He sat behind Jalen Milroe, who was a 3rd-round pick of the Seahawks last year. So basically, Alabama decided that Simpson was not as good as Milroe. Well, early and maybe even the middle of the season, he had some really good games where I'm like, this guy is super accurate. When he had a clean pocket, he is accurate. However, as the season went on, when he had to make faster decisions, he really struggled. His accuracy and ball placement was much, much worse, especially when he went against better defenses and had to make decisions quicker. It really affected his accuracy. He started holding the ball longer, and it led to more sacks. It's almost like he lost a little confidence. He was worried about making mistakes, so he just held on to the ball. He wasn't doing that earlier in the year. He was pretty bad against Indiana in the college football playoff, but he didn't get a lot of help. No one on Alabama seemed to have a good game. In the SEC title game against Georgia, he was terrible. That was his worst game of the year, in my opinion. And he played pretty well against Georgia earlier in the year. Now, Georgia's defense struggled early and got better, and they really did a great job against Simpson, and it did not go well. He is undersized. He's only 6'1" and has a slight build. Basically, with Simpson, I know he's fundamentally sound, good mechanics in the strengths, but it might actually be a weakness as well, because he might be maxed out as far as his ceiling. Like, if there was some flaw in his delivery that was causing him to be less accurate, then maybe you can fix that. For example, Josh Allen, he wasn't all that accurate in college, but he worked on it and fixed his delivery. He got way more accurate in the NFL. Even Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers changed their throwing motion and became more accurate. So I just don't think that's something that Ty Simpson's going to improve on. I don't think his ball placement and accuracy are going to get much better in the NFL. I mentioned that he did not have a lot of experience. The track record for first-round quarterbacks that only start one season is not good. In fact, it's pretty awful. Mitch Trubisky, Anthony Richardson, Dwayne Haskins, Mac Jones, and Mark Sanchez. I don't think he'll get drunk at midnight and attack a DoorDash driver like Mark Sanchez did. Probably not. But that's a pretty bad list. And a lot of teams will not draft a quarterback high, even second round, that doesn't have at least 3 years experience. So it might limit the number of teams that will be interested in him, especially early in the draft. He did play with an inconsistent offensive line. There were some games he was running for his life. And Bama really struggled to run the ball this year. So if you're a Ty Simpson defender, you can say the offensive line was a big problem, and it was. Look, the bottom line is, for Ty Simpson, he just needs one team to love him or talk themselves into him. You hear the insiders saying they expect him to go in the first round. I'm not buying it. I just don't think there's enough teams that will draft a quarterback that, one, does not always have good ball placement, especially under pressure, and is just not very experienced. So I mentioned those three things at the beginning. He has the leadership, no doubt about it, but he doesn't always have the ball placement, and he doesn't handle pressure very well. So he only has one of those three things that I require to draft a quarterback in the first round. And I think some teams will probably pass on him in the first round because of that. Now, Dan Orlovsky, got to mention this, had him as QB1. I don't buy it. Maybe he and Ty Simpson have formed a bond. They became buddies. He's a very likable guy. I get it. Maybe it's because they're represented by the same agency. I did make a video about that. I'll link it at the end if you have not seen it. But there's no way he's QB1. I think there's a huge drop-off after Fernando Mendoza. I think the rest of the quarterbacks in the 2026 draft will be backups. Now, there's a chance that one of them will end up being a good starter, but I have no idea which one. And I just don't think Ty Simpson will be that guy. I see a below-average starter and a good backup, which is fine if you're drafting the third or fourth round. But he just needed to play more in college. We needed to see 3 years of experience. So for that reason, I would not take him before the third round. And because he's inexperienced, because he doesn't handle pressure well, he needs to sit for 2 or 3 years, kind of like Jordan Love did. And if you're drafted high, if you're drafted in the first round, you're not sitting for 2 or 3 years. It's rare that you have a Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation. There's not one team that I think will draft him in the first round that will sit him for 3 years. So if he is drafted high, he's probably going to play early and often. Consensus board, 30. That's way too high. If he had better tools, I get it. If he had this cannon arm and was really athletic, but still had the same struggles we saw in college, then that makes sense that he's consensus 30. But I don't have him in my top 50. I don't have him in my top 70, to be honest with you. He just doesn't have the tools and the upside to me to be that high. So Fitz, what team could use Ty Simpson? Well, any team needs a quarterback could use him. Obviously, Arizona Cardinals, New York Jets, Cleveland Browns could draft him in the second round. They could move back in the first to take him. I think it would be a mistake because if you even draft him early second round and your team is 4-8, 4-9 late in the year, there's going to be pressure to play him. I just don't think he should play right away. I think it could be a disaster. And the Rams and Steelers are interesting. I think those are better fits because he won't play right away. If you're the Rams and you know that Matthew Stafford's going to play 2 more years, then I could see them drafting him maybe in the third round, but I would not take him even in the second, especially teams like the Steelers and Rams are trying to win. If he falls all the way to the third round, any team could draft him. Because once he's in the third round, you can draft him as a backup, and there's less pressure. It really matters where you go in the draft. If you draft a quarterback in the first round, he is probably going to play early. Once again, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, those are rare exceptions. But if you draft him in the third round, like a Davis Mills, for example, there's no pressure on him being a starter. Yeah, you can make him a starter, but if he struggles, then you can still keep him as a backup. But if you draft a guy in the first round and he really struggles, then you're probably moving on from him, and he's considered a bust, like Anthony Richardson, possibly J.J. McCarthy. So I just think you do a disservice to him drafting him in the first round. A couple other teams I want to mention that I think would be great franchises for him to learn and develop. The San Francisco 49ers, they don't have a third-round pick, but maybe they trade down from the first or second rounder and get a third if he's there. Learning under Kyle Shanahan, I think, would be really good for him. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars have 3 third-round picks. I think Liam Cohen's a great coach. Did a real good job with Trevor Lawrence this past year. So let me know in the comments, am I too harsh on him? Do you like Ty Simpson? Where do you think he should go? Should he go in the first round, second, third, or even day 3? If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel. Share this with anyone who loves football. Once again, I cover all 32 teams on this channel. Me and Mike, we do the Lights Out podcast every Tuesday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Link in the description. On Sunday, the 19th, we're going to do a special mock draft, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Myself and 3 other draft analysts will pick for every team. Mike will host it. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you come out for that. Check these videos out if you have not, and I'll see you in the next one.